Hey guys, welcome. I'm really excited for this late night live tonight. Apologies for the little bit of delay. We've had some fun technological translations happening between Kira in New York and me here in where am I? I'm in Gold Coast today, and so just figuring out that gap. So in theory, this will send Kira a message and we'll get a tag request. She will jump on live and this will get happening very, very soon. So, Kira is not here yet and we will do technology in just a second. Invite. Setting up the technology has been a little fun thing and another beautiful moment, experience of the Mercury retrograde, and that's been pretty cool. So in just a moment, I'll be jumping on. Here we go. Kira is being added to the video. And I am keen to... Hey, welcome!
Hi. We made it. We made it through our mercurial haze of technology difficulties.
We did. It's been a lot of fun. I've never had any of those issues before, and to have them here tonight is a bit of fun. So
Yeah,
I'm really glad
bringing
we
out
got
the
it done.
shadow, baby. Bringing out the
Bringing out
technology
the shadow.
Yeah.
It's nothing like feeling you have no idea what you're doing to just bring up that shadow moment, I think.
100%. Yeah.
So I am so keen to dive into this conversation with you tonight, and get to know you, Kira, and the Panther process and what you do. But let's just start with, it's good night here for me, but you're just saying you're in New York. The sun's just coming up.
The sun's just come up. It rose about maybe 20, 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we're on different ends of the earth, different ends of the planet, and I'm also really excited to connect with you about all of the above and connect with your audience, and super excited to come to Australia and bring this medicine and bring the work, and it's just it feels really full and big and fun, and to extend this energy there. So I'm really excited.
Me too. And I know as soon as we started connecting about what you do, the kind of work, I just got the biggest gut, like, yes, to figure out how to make this happen, how to bring it here, and how to be part of that. So um, let's start with, I suppose, a simple, not simple question. What is it you do?
Ah, okay. So, in the really easy, short synopsis, I help people figure out what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do that through a realm of different healing modalities, arts, sensory scapes, psychology. So it's the psyche, the soma, and the energy field, and it's enhanced by the artscapes and the sensory elements. So we do everything from really beautiful expressive art therapy, to different level healing modalities. I've been using and practicing evolutionary astrology for many years. I grew up in an astrology household, so it's my second language.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been about, many years, about 35 years, and different levels of theta. So I'm an advanced and third level theta healing practitioner. That's been about 5 years. I've been practicing different levels of transformational breath work for 6 years. So all these different things that I've just incorporated and molded into this experience, because as an adult, we generally don't give ourselves the full expression of life, even though that sounds completely counterintuitive. We don't give ourselves the full expression of feeling. We don't give ourselves the full expression of our inner child. We don't give ourselves, really this space and this ability to not only to daydream and go up into the ethers, but how do we express it in this human body? And it's sort of bridging all of those things together, and forming this chrysalis of transformation. And that's what the shadow is. It's everything that we repress, we deny ourselves, right? So it's everything from our guilt, our shame, our fear, big ones, our anger, our denial, our illusions, all those different things that can become shadow. And it's also the beautiful light pieces that we deny ourselves. The shadow and the light is not that much different. It's actually quite the same. Different things like on that, for example, our success, our beauty, our love,
Yeah.
our support, our wealth, our abundance, all those different things. These are all things that we repress. And so during different levels of Panther, whether it's a one-on-one experience that I'm curating or whether it's in a group, we use different things, like I mentioned, different healing modalities. And again, it's all listed on the site as well, but it's, theta, breath, astrology, Reiki, psychology. I'm also a certified yoga teacher, so we incorporate different body movements. There's dance sometimes. There's lightscape, live sound, recorded sound, vinyl. So it's really just this cool alchemic blend of everything that gives you a Pandora's box to open, to explore, and to do it safely.
Yeah.
This is a completely free realm. Nothing that happens in here surprises me. So it's held in a very tight container. And it feels really natural to me to be in this work as well, because it's like, it's where I've put all the intensity. I'm quite an intense person, so and it gives me an amazing channel to provide that safe space for others. And it's something that I didn't have. As I started exploring this work and over the years and, growing up how I did and different ways that it affected me and trauma. And so I really it brings me exuberance and excitement to be able to create in this space, to make really cool abstract art with the emotional landscapes in this way with others and helping them express all that it brings.
I love that sentence. Creating art with our emotional landscape. It's like, yes. Just floored my question. My question, I think, was, you mentioned the space where you are.
Where I am now.
Where you are. So where are you? Like, tell me about this space of where you work.
Yes. So I am in New York on the Lower East Side. And I am very fortunate to have this beautiful loft. And I've taken the loft and transformed the main area to be for classes and groups and other amazing workshops and things I do here. And then here, where you can see me now, is the one-on-one experience room and also my lab. So behind you on the shelves are some really beautiful altar pieces, but also it's all my accoutrements. It's different tools I use, different oils that I've curated from all over the world. Everything that I use with anyone or any Panther experience is things that I personally use. I don't use any company-wide manufactured oils. I don't use doTERRA. I don't use anything that comes from that. Everything's bespoke or comes from local businesses that I've taken, again, all over the world. And in the back, where you can see the veil piece. This is also part of the lightscape that happens in here. And through the veil is actually a full sound room as well. So this space is actually quite tight as it is. And then in the back, it's a full cocoon. So even though it's cocoon-like in here, it's especially back there. So sometimes there's different sound baths or different healings that go on there. But really, this is the main space. And what you can't see is my turntable, my mixer, speakers, different levels of vinyl, some sound instruments, things of that nature as well. So welcome.
It's like sound healing at the next level.
Yeah,
completely.
It's I'm an octopus when I work. For sure. Definitely for sure. And in any given experience, you could be going through different levels of somatic processing. There's always a breath journey that goes on with it. I love breath work. Breath work 6 years ago. I mean, honestly, between the background, the 35 plus years that I've had in this, since I could really comprehend what all that means, including the different levels of energy work in theta and breath work. Honestly, those three things alone were explosive for me in terms of how fast the growth rate is. I started practicing process-oriented and Jungian psychology in 2009. So that just organically flowed from there. So I just incorporate all of those different things, and it happens here in this chrysalis, the shadow death chrysalis, where we basically destroy everything that's untrue about yourself, allow you to come to your truth and play with it.
Wow. So it's like, I think I have a question, and then you'll say a word, and like my question like just leaves, and this whole other like box opens, and I'm like, now where do we go?
Yeah, it's just like doing the work. We pull the thread, and then
So for the average person, how much are they living with a self that's untrue for them? Like how often does that happen?
well, the subconscious is about 80% of where we operate from. So if we're not cleaning out our subconscious mind, that varies in degrees, because the people that are cleaning out the subconscious, it's a less percentage. And the people that aren't cleaning out their subconscious, it's higher. And there's an often misnomer about, oh, I process, right? I think, or I processed it out, or I've read a book about it, or unless you give yourself the full experience of what that feels like, smells like, tastes like, everything, you don't know. And so how can we fully understand what's hidden unless we just start peeling back these layers of humanness, right? And the way that we can do that is through those experiences. Yeah. So it's difficult to say how much, let's say, is someone operating from their own truth. I think it would depend on how they're activating the subconscious mind, how actively they're working on it. And most of the time when people are operating out of this untruth, the two pillar elements that 99% of the time I always find constitute from fear and shame. And those two things also, I mean, they're like trees, and the branches, these big branches, and they hold up all these other elements of all the other complicated stuff that we have around us in terms of our belief systems and our energy field and our trauma and all that kind of stuff, all the shadow stuff otherwise. But really, when people are operating from untruth, it's because it's just this conclave of fear and shame. Because what happens is when you start touching truth, the shame spiral that comes from that can be full on epic. Because people, and that's really one of the barriers, they don't want to touch that shame. Because if they touch that shame that's been built up and repressed for so long, it can be really detrimental and physically ill, and it's a lot. And people will do whatever they can to protect it. They will get angry, they will lie, they will run away from you, they'll ghost out, they won't face it. All of that. That's really the root of that in my work that I found, fear and shame.
Yeah. So you mentioned it's important to process that in a safe space.
Yes.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
We're just opening up everything that you don't know inside you. And what could go wrong? So inside of us, and this is why it's so important to have a strong container to do this. This is why I know that I'm also made for this work, is because there's not only emotions that can feel very dangerous, you can have a physical reaction to them. You can have an energetic reaction. There are entities that sometimes come with it that are passed down through your lineage. You can feel so afraid to touch them that you actually never get to them. So unless you really have a proper container that feels like this can hold me, you're not going to open. You might endanger yourself, and you might energetically endanger yourself. So you want to be with any form of shadow work. You want to be with a space holder, a guide, a practitioner, a healer. I don't love that term, healer. You need to be with someone, a guide, who can really know how to hold down all fronts
Yeah.
and do it in non-judgment and offer many outlets in order for you to express that, which is why we do all these different things here in Panther Space. This is why we have so many outlets of expression and so many opportunities. You know, I've curated events, anything from really intense ritualistic women's circles to, you know, theta trainings, to the shadows of the chakras, you know, immersions, which incorporates kind of all of the above and putting together all the different schools of thought. So it actually makes sense as you navigate through the energy bodies, because it can get very overwhelming. You know, first chakra, what's the first chakra about? What are the planets that are involved? What are the Chinese meridians? What does it mean? And what's the somatic tool that you can use to navigate the emotions that can come up with chakra 1, right? Fear, anxiety, you know, just to name a couple. So, yeah.
So keep going. That one. And, okay. So depending.
So, for example,
let me try and paraphrase a little.
Yep.
So, depending where the issue is stuck, somatically, mentally, how it's structured, energetically, how that thing we don't know or are repressing, how it's structured, will be more linked to certain chakras, and so we have different ways of working with that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Awesome.
It gives form. It gives form to all of it.
Yes, definitely. Please, an example. That would be awesome.
Okay, great. So, for example, when I'm working with someone, let's use a one-on-one example because it's a bit easier to dissect. Yeah. So if I'm working one-on-one with someone, I already know their astrology chart before they come in. So I'm already looking at their chart. I'm already seeing where potential traumas have been, where they might have potential challenges. And I ask a series of questions, you know, if I see certain red flags in the chart or certain interesting or juice or medicine, I'm going to ask them questions about the choices they've made in their life around those things, because everything is free will. And in evolutionary astrology, it's all about free will. It's all about the evolution of the soul, the karmic placements, and it's all about those questions. So basically, I'm working in the chart. I see perhaps there might be something around speaking their truth, or there might be some past karma of basically people telling them lots of lies, verbal abuse in this life, something that may have given them something to shut down. And when we have an imbalanced fifth chakra, there's a couple different ways it can manifest. It can manifest through excessive talking, like it's loud, there's excessive talking, blah, 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 right? And then it can manifest where they can't listen. It can manifest where they have trouble saying anything. And especially because, you know, there's a lot of people that they don't have the ability to actually speak their truth. They say what's on their mind, but their truth doesn't come forward. So it rolls, but the truth of really who they are, or the crux of what it is, cannot be revealed. So I would work with them on a couple different levels in a way to open that. So a different way, there's different levels of toning to get the somatic juices flowing. There's different ways to create art, because this is creation. This is the expression of that. So we could do different levels of art, different levels of sounding. There's some energetic stuff to do. We've got to look at where the neck is blocked. Is there some control there? How frozen is the occiput? Is it safe to speak their truth? Who taught them it's not safe to speak their truth? Was it their parents? Was it the world? Was it themselves? Is it a soul contract? Are they angry at God? You know, going into the belief systems of all of it. What's the reasoning? And then using the psychology, the energy, the creativity, the practical realms. You know, the creativity I say especially here, because this is a big creative center in the way of our expression. And you find that people that when they start speaking their truth more and more and more, it's so much easier for them to create. And we're all creators.
For sure.
You know, this is all of our... So many people who experience hardship in life or experience trauma get into this field, and myself included. That's one of the reasons. I never set out to do this. This was not, you know, what I had set out. I was a really weird kid. I was very witchy. I was very different. I didn't realize, you know, years later that it would be #witch in the millennial generation. and all of a sudden it would be trendy. But a lot of people get into this because it is trendy, or they're riding the wellness wave, or, you know, whatever outlet, you know, on that plane. It's become overused and abused, and it's very surface level. It's not really deep. You know, one of the things that I was trained in is Reiki. It's beautiful. It works on an alpha brainwave. It's really good for pain. It removes energy. It's wonderful, but it's not a long-term solution. It's a really nice accoutrement for different things, but things like Reiki or crystal work, and it's not without its medicine and its value, but it's also not getting to the real transformation of life. Working with crystals is not going to transform your life, guys. It's just not. You know, Reiki, it's going to introduce you to new ways of energy and movement and magic and creation and healing, and that's all beautiful. It's not going to transform your psyche. It's not going to get into your shadow. It's not going to get into your subconscious. It's not going to do all those things. So for me, this really evolved because it's such an inherent part of who I am to create magic. And to grant wishes in different ways, and to help people find their own medicine, and to make their own art. I feel that we're all just here to make your own art in the world, whatever that looks like. And art doesn't mean traditional ways of art. It means, you know, are you an artist at connecting the dots? Are you an artist at nurturing and support? Are you an artist in birthing babies? Are you an artist? And, you know, and I use art because that's exactly what it is. You're bringing your truth, your flavor, your realm of creation to all of this. And we can't be the creators. We can't be the artists of our life if we're stuck living in the untruth. And so Panther's core values are truth, courage, and authenticity. That's where we operate from. You know, this is, you're not going to find the blissed out and the wooey wooey here. This is where we get down and dirty, for sure. Very raw, real expression. Your anger is welcome here. I love running the anger process. Running the anger process is one of my favorite workshops. That's really powerful and super amazing to be able to transmute that kind of energy. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on.
So I know when you touched on that, it's not the blissed out woo woo kind of floaty stuff.
Yep.
And I can, as someone who's experienced a lot of intensity in my life, I can really appreciate why there's so much more that beyond that. Like I really get that. Oh man, my head's like doing 3 questions. Sometimes that's useful, sometimes it's not.
Spit one out.
Spit one out.
Whatever one is at the top. Where do you feel it in your body?
So would you say you're a disruptive person?
Do I say that I shake things up? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Shadow workers carry a different frequency, for sure. And with that, you know, it's very Plutonian. It's very Scorpionic. And I also don't buy into pop culture astrology. So it doesn't mean if you have a Scorpio sun, you're a shadow worker. It doesn't mean if you're Pluto and Scorpio, you're a shadow worker. It doesn't mean those things. I just want to leave that as a caveat. It's a very deep Plutonic element, and that means basically, you know, Pluto is the Kundalini. It's the transformation. Yeah, so it's that kind of deep energy of going under that. And when someone's a born shadow worker, they tend, like myself, to grow up with a lot of shadow flying at them, and they carry a very intense, powerful charge. It's like a laser. And what happens is, if you don't know how to use it properly, and I didn't as a child, I didn't even know what a shadow worker was. I wasn't groomed that way. I didn't know. I experienced a lot of trauma because of it, but it wasn't, I had no idea what it was.
They don't have like career counseling in like
Yeah.
school yet to tell you this is what you meant to be doing.
Right.
No.
Or this is, hey, you're a shadow worker. I mean, maybe more now with the new generation, but definitely not when I was growing up. So that wasn't a reality for me. And it's like a laser. And what happens is when you don't know how to use your laser, and even when you do, when you walk into a room, when you enter a field, your energy is so big and so intense because it's meant to unmask. It's meant to reveal untruth. It's meant to trigger you. It's meant to piss people off. It's not meant to, I'm not Amma. I'm not going to come in and hug you, right? And give you a chocolate. There is hugging that goes on and there is cacao that goes on, but that's not really the core of the work. So I would say, yes, I would say that I can be very disruptive, and I own it. I like it. And I also love being connected, and I also love being, loving human. And I think all of this comes from love. It's just that my school of love is a little bit tougher. It's a little bit, I want to face reality, and I want to help people face reality. And I want to get to the truth of that and do that. And the space, and I want to be really clear, is held with so much compassion and so much safety and so much trust. And I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that I get to do this. And I'm really grateful that it's impacted so many people. And, when I started Panther a few years ago, I had been living in Bali for a couple of years, and I had been in New York, and I had been studying this kind of stuff and doing things intermittently. And like I said, I grew up, as a self-proclaimed pagan in many ways. So this is not a new realm. But I was just kind of surviving from career to career. I'm a long-term New Yorker. I've lived here 20 years. So it's been, career to career. And then I just went through so much heartache being in the city and doing things and kind of waiting for the next thing to come. Like every career, it wasn't. I worked in film. I worked in fashion. I worked in real estate for a while. That was where I was working when I sort of left. And I sat down and I was so unhappy and so miserable. And I just didn't understand how to discover the deeper parts of myself. I wanted a guide. And so I made a deal with God, made a deal with Source. And I said, listen, if this next deal comes through I'm working on, I'm going to take a trip. I'm going to get out of here. And 4 came through. And I left. And what was supposed to be a 2.5-week excursion wound up being about 3 years of travel and just being abroad. And when I came back, it was very clear that this is what I was doing. And Panther, and it's the way that it's formed now, and its incarnation of mixing everything, is about 2.5 years old. So that's that story on that.
No, it's so amazing how the guidance to go to different places, like, is how we find ourselves. Sometimes sometimes you can look back and you go, of course I was meant to be there. Of course I was meant to see that or do that or be that or take that journey. But you would never know it in advance. Like, you can't plan some of this shit.
No, and honestly, this is one of the most common things that come up. People say, I'm not ready, or I'll do it when I'm ready. You're never ready. And the people that say, I'll do it when I'm ready, they have to commit. If you don't commit, if you don't have the courage to commit, it's never going to happen, ever. And the thing is, I love that expression, fuck the fear and do it anyway. It's exactly true. That's what courage is. The courage is staring down the barrel of your fear and taking the step anyway. I'm scared. Great, do it anyway. I have a million excuses. Great, do it anyway. One of my pet peeves in the astrological community is the overuse and the spiritual bypass that goes on with it. My moon is in this sign, so I can't do this. Or, okay, look, you can have a proclivity to certain behaviors or patterns, but it's up to you to integrate that energy. It's up to you to step into the power of that.
Yeah.
You know, you have, an X moon in the whatever house and conjuncting the whatever that makes you really weepy and cry and loose and difficult to move forward or whatever that is. Amazing. Be weepy, express it, and cry and still do it. And that it's okay to be weepy and cry and still do it. You know, I
Yeah.
have, it's funny listening,
It's
like
like
hearing
the
myself.
tough love astrology. I
Yeah,
fucking love it.
yeah, and it's hearing myself speak as well on it, because so I have a Mars and Scorpio conjunct Uranus, for those who understand astrology, and
Yeah.
the conversations that those two have in relationships to the nodes of the moon and the other things in the chart. So I, like, astrologers have read my chart, teachers have read my chart and said, "Oh, she was born angry. Like, you were just." You came in really, pissed off. And it doesn't also, I mean, I've got Lilith conjunct Pluto, my soul. So I'm also coming in with that Lilith, I'm here to be destructive, in the untruth type of vibe anyway, the dark feminine vibe. But Mars and Scorpio generally says, I'm going to fuck you or kill you. And so for me, I just use that as part of my awareness with things. But I definitely also know that when sometimes there's a trigger present or whatever is going on in that realm, I can't use that as an excuse for, unleashing that anger, if that's what I choose to do. That's my choice regardless. I also know that, when those energies are really big, it's best for me to create here in the lab, to run an anger process on myself, to come up with new content or new ideas around how to deal with that anger, or frankly, sit in the salt bath and chill the fuck out. Not leave the house. Hey, by the way, my energy is a proclivity to get really triggered and activated around this time. And I'm not going to put myself in a situation, right, that might completely throw me over the edge, right? If that's what I need. Or in other times, I just work with it. But that's how it is in general with astrological stuff. You just learn to work with it. You work with the shadow of it. You integrate it, and you just use it as part of your art.
It's been really an interesting thing because for me, I was getting quite weighed down with some of the business stuff actually early this year, and it felt like every single thing I was learning was business or creating money or business structures or marketing, or it was doing my head in completely. And I was like, I need to learn something new. So I feel like I'm learning for the love and the fun of it, because it's a really nourishing thing for me, that creativity of learning. And
Yeah.
so I ended up choosing to start studying and learning astrology. So that's been a big part of my year this year, is starting to go into classes and learn some of the arts of that. And I really loved the evolutionary approach too. So when you started talking about that, I was super drawn to it. And it is so profound for me how these like archetypal structures move through all of us in the personal journey. That it's not your one thing or another, and it's the integration of all the elements. And I've loved it. Like, I've loved it. And who knew that would end up being professionally useful? And I guess I was surprised. But now I look back and I'm like, well, of course not, you know. And
Yeah. Astrology puts form into energy.
tell me more about that. How does that?
It creates a structure to the energy. It gives us a blueprint as a way to understand things.
Yeah.
Astrology is both left and right brain.
Okay.
And it can get super locked up in details. And I mean, you're always learning, you're always growing. There's always more to learn in astrology. But unless you turn on your intuitive brain, it's not going to
Yeah.
work. But unless you actually back it up with knowledge, truth, and understanding, it's not going to work either, because a lot of people just use astrology or say they're intuitives in astrology. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work either. You can use astrology, sciences to help guide your intuition. But yeah. I
one of
see
my
your
dogs,
mind going.
one of my dogs is out in the back there barking, and I'm like, I'm feeling a little rocked actually at the moment. It's quite weird. I don't normally get unsettled on interviews, so it, it's a few
Am I
things.
being disruptive?
It's entirely possible. Just being in your field is enough.
Should we talk about Australia?
We can talk about Australia because I know we've talked about you're coming out in January and February, and
Yes.
there's a couple of programs that you're going to run, and they're different ones. And as much as I'd love to keep hearing more about the astrology, I think we were talking about not the astrology one this trip. And I'm like, I'm inside. I'm like, damn it. But you mentioned the shadow of the chakras.
Yes.
Tell me a bit more about that. How does that work? Because I mean, you
So
touched on the different an
yeah, so
example like you gave, but yeah.
So Shadows of the Chakras is a really amazing immersive program. I love running this program. I run it a few times in New York. In Australia, we're going to run it over 2 days. Yeah. So it really combines all the different elements of the Panther toolbox. And it breaks it down in all the different ways using the chakra system. So we do different, like we break down the astrology around it. We do somatic movements around it. We do group exercises. We make art. I bring in other practitioners. You know, we have different experiences from cacao to sound bathing to really niche, amazing different forms of art. So it really curates a full experience of how to use all the different methods as a school of system. And I'm actually developing the online program for Shadows now, which is super also really, really exciting as well. So people can do this at home no matter where they are. But please, if you're in Australia, come and see and really feel this. It's really full powered. It's really transformational. You will leave feeling much more integrated, much more in your power, and much more aware of what you don't know, and that's the most important thing. It's a really beautiful bonding immersion as well to the other people in the group, men, women. It's really fun. I had one participant, one course that I ran. We had made art during it, and she had framed it, and she meditates with it all the time because she can see her transformation and see how it works out. A lot of the girls that did another round that I went, they're still in communication. They have lunch,
Beautiful.
which is great.
That community part is so, I find it so valuable when I'm doing working on myself, because then you have a new language to talk with people about stuff. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the shadow work and the conversations that you start getting into, you don't have those around average people.
No,
Like
no.
so
And to be able to talk about belief system work and what happened during your anger process.
yeah.
And to be given a toolbox. You're going to get a toolbox that you yourself get to use to do that. And I'll be bringing with me sensory elements that I use here in Panther Space in New York to help create that space. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm really, really excited. And, you know, as the shadow season progresses, it's been a really tough October for a lot of people. It's been a really tough couple of months in terms of transformation. I've had a lot of people reach out to me that have been saying, hey, I've been thinking about this work for a really long time. And I just, I
Now.
need something. Like it's something's got to give. And that's what these plutonic scorpionic energies do is it's here's a really beautiful, and I'll kind of wrap with this on this, but it's like there's three animals or three different evolutionary representation of being that comes with Scorpio. And the other elements, Virgo, it's actually not the virgin either, by the way. That's the priestess. That was a patriarchal virgin undertone for Virgo. But you have the balance of Libra, you have the water bear in Aquarius, and people often know the scorpion for Scorpio. But the scorpion can kill itself. It can use its own tail to sting itself. And it can cut off its nose to spite its face. And that's the shadow of Scorpio, right? It's like what I was saying before about Mars and Scorpio. You know, it's like You know, are you going to do something to spite the situation? Is it really going to help, or can you transmute it? That's the light of Mars and Scorpio. Just to bring that back in. The second phase of Scorpio is the eagle, where we rise above and we see a different perspective. And the third is the phoenix. Death can't kill you. It can't kill you at all. And that's the art of transformation. You know, that's what transformation's really about. And so, you know, going through a transformational process and coming out the other side, what also no one talks about is then what happens when you come out the other side? What happens when you look in the mirror and you don't recognize your physical self? What happens when you look in the closet and nothing suits you? That none of your clothes are the right expression of your new being, or, you know, what happens after that as well. And we talk about that. And that can be really, really, really tricky, especially for women, because we have such a palette to express our beauty, and that's part of who we are. And when we don't feel authentic in that expression, it feels pretty awful.
Yeah.
You know, it's like not understanding the new skin that we're in. So that's a part of shadow work too. It's like, okay, what happens after? What happens after? What happens next? You know, and we talk about that in Shadows of the Chakras, and we're going to talk about this during the workshops. And there'll be a couple of breath workshops too, hoping to run also in Australia. Breath work is one of my favorite things, and I bring the shadow element to the breath. So we go into that transformational space, clearing out not just your nervous system, right? The science behind the breath work, but we really go into the energetic and the shamanic states with it. And I use shamanic very carefully, that word. I am not a shaman. I am Caucasian woman. I make that really clear. I think people can do shamanic work, but I think that if you're going to use the word shaman, side note, you have to be descended from that lineage. So I just want to respect that and make sure I'm really clear that I'm not using that term. I use shamanic techniques. That's for the indigenous people. But we go into those energy fields. I use theta as I work too in the breath to clear energy, to do certain downloads. So it's really full powered experience. We're actually doing one of the breaths too. We'll be doing that during Shadows. So you really get the whole kit and caboodle with what this program is. And I couldn't be more excited and more, I think I just said excited and tickled.
I like that word. I like it.
Excited, yeah.
Excited. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So January
Gold Coast and February Perth.
Yes, exactly. And possibly Melbourne as well.
Melbourne.
For the artistic shadow experience. The shadow experience is different than Shadows of the Chakras. The shadow experience is creating a whole art immersion. Different levels of, it's basically like we go through a Panther process, and then you're able to experience, there's different curated art, there's dance, there's music, there's movement. So it's more of a cool event and art installation after a process. So you can fully dive in, seeing it with new eyes after you process, which is a really beautiful thing. And then I'm also in Sydney, Australia Day weekend, with a beautiful sister, and we're running she's an amazing, she doesn't use the term shadow. She's more feminine embodiment. She does dancing eros. And we're putting together a really fucking rocking program on that as well. And that'll be Australia Day weekend on the 25th. So wherever you are in Australia, the Panther will be there in January and February. And I'm really excited to talk more about that as the plans get solidified and things get done. So definitely reach out and let me and Sam know any questions you have or interest or requests.
For sure. Yeah. Reach out if you're curious to know when the dates are released and the tickets are out and stuff. I can definitely let you guys know. And I know between now and then I'll probably jump in with another live or two, and actually we'll go into some of these topics a bit deeper. So I really wanted this tonight to just be to get to know you a little bit, to ask some of the who, where, how, what the fuck are we talking about kind of
basically thing. What time is it there now?
It's probably 11:30 where I am, It's 12:30 in Melbourne and Sydney.
Well, thank you, all those
Yeah.
that stayed up and watched. And for those that have to get up tomorrow, thank you for watching later. And please submit any questions that you have. I'm happy to be here
For
and
sure,
support.
for sure. Thanks and have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon. Love
Yes.
you,
Thank
beautiful.
you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Grateful. Bye.
Bye.